What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. If you are new, welcome. We are diving into Project G-String. This is a 1983 Pontiac Grand Prix with a 5.3 and a turbo 350 transmission that we used for drag racing a little bit, which is why all this is X-braced and the anti-roll bar, all that stuff. But unfortunately, we ran into a little bit of a hiccup. And if you didn't see the last video, I'm going to show you right now before we start ripping this thing apart in this video. We are returning this back to a rolling chassis for now. And I will fill you in on it as we go while we redo our whole entire swap. Because we are still trying to make LS Fest Vegas, which is in April. I got the tickets bought for the donut pit. So we're going to go shred this thing, which is part of the reason we put a giant handbrake in it on top of who needs a trans brake when you can just hold a giant pogo stick and lock up all 4 tires and then load it up on the stall. Not really the way it works, but we junkyard stuff around here, and it's got a Ghetto Boy nitrous system on it, which we don't talk about much. So if you stick around, you'll be able to see that. But let's jump into ripping this thing apart. We are off to a pretty good start tearing this thing down. We got the transmission mount bolt out. I need to take the torque converter bolts out, slide it back a little bit, and then we can build up our platform, and I will pop this transmission out, and then we can lower the car down, and I'll use the lift arm to take the motor out. Now, I do not claim to be a professional race car builder, fabber, welder, none of that. But hear me out. What I'm saying is, when you start building a hot rod, just think it through a little bit so it can come in and out and apart and together the easiest. So the cross member's out, everything else is out, it's ready to be dropped. So I'm gonna go holler at Jack to see if he will help me balance the transmission, and we will take that down and out, and then we'll push the car back, and like I was saying, we'll use the arm of the lift to pop the motor right up out of there.
Down a little bit.
Yep, nice and easy.
Your lines are still connected by zip ties over here.
All right. And just like that, it kind of sucked, but thank God for Jack. Let's rip the motor out. All right, so if you've never seen under the hood of this car, here's your chance before we rip it apart. It is just a junkyard 5.3. We went and took a factory alternator bracket out of a truck, whacked the power steering off of it, rolled it, drilled and tapped the head, and here it is. So other than that, it's pretty generic. It's got an eBay harness in it, which is underneath the intake, as you can kind of see. But that's how I like to run it, nice and clean and easy. There is also this tiny little hose down here. That is our Ghetto Boy nitrous that I mentioned. So we will have to go ahead and take that off when we get our intake and stuff off. But I don't have a place to put the bottle right now since I put the roll cage in. I'll probably do a slide-in shelf in the back here at this pipe going to these pipes, but I'm not sure yet. We're still working on the appearance of all that stuff, but in the meantime, like I was saying, we got to go ahead and tear this thing down. We're going to start by ripping the hood off this thing so we got more room and more light to work on it, and then we will start at the intake, start tearing that down, pinch the hoses off so we can take those off. Then we'll move on to the motor stuff like the intake, the coils, stuff like that, the exhaust, and we will hook a chain to it and pop it right up out of there. All right, so I know you're getting sick of me, but let's show you how this harness was laid in here so you could barely see it at all. Now, keep in mind, I did have to cut and solder some wires to make them long enough, but they sell extensions if you look online. Now, if you feel like cutting and soldering, be my guest. If you want to use butt connectors, even better. But let's take a look at it. This is the cheap eBay harness that I use. I will drop a link in the description for the exact one that I use. I am on like 5 or 6 now, and I haven't had a single issue yet. So with the main harness coming out of the firewall, we come through here and we just zip tie it all together real nice. And underneath the intake, if you still have the factory one and you haven't yet, take the foam out of the bottom. And then you can set your gaskets down, kind of like so, and notch out just a little bit of the intake if you need to, and you can set the wires on, and then push your intake down, and it'll clip onto the intake gasket. And then from there, you can bolt it down. Don't rush it, just finesse it nice and easy, and you can get it underneath the intake, and nobody will ever know. Well, just like that, that's a rolling chassis once again. Hey, I'm gonna wrap it up there. I will catch you guys in tomorrow's video.